Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Truth, where today, for this offseason video, we're going to be talking about the Atlanta Falcons for this offseason. The Atlanta Falcons are coming in with about $30 million in cap space, something to keep in mind. They do have some spending capabilities and don't just have to have, mainly the draft, so they can go in a lot of different directions. So this draft, of course, like how I always do, starters, then depth. So attack the draft because this is what the positions of need that the Atlanta Falcons have. So in the first round, I went receiver. I went Malik Neighbors. I saw that he was probably one of the better positions. The defensive ends, the top defensive ends, like the real true ones that you'd want in the top 10, flew off the board. So I went receiver, Malik Neighbors. I think this helps out the receiving core, which I have been a big contributor of saying the Falcons need to update the receiving core. They need to get better at it. It's lackluster, to say the best. I mean, it's not to the level, and there's no disrespect to NFL players, to teams, or anything, but it's the truth. It's better than the Carolina Panthers, but it still needs work. No one's going to sit here and say that, oh, yeah, the Atlanta Falcons receiving core is really scary, when it's not. But you add Malik Neighbors with Drake London, and then I also drafted Xavier Worthy after that. Just another kind of high position availability. I drafted Xavier Worthy. I thought, having him as a slot guy, we have Malik Neighbors as a super athletic kind of deep threat, and then you have Drake London, who's going to be a contested ball, and then you also, on top of that, have Kyle Pitts at the tight end position. Your passing game looks a lot more scarier going into next season. Like, just with the first two picks, everything changes, because now you're sitting here going, okay, we can really do some things. I went with the third pick they had. I went Darius Robinson. If I can pull it up real quickly, he's 6'5", 295. He's going to be your more traditional defensive end. They did lose a starter. This is just to replace them. Look, 35-inch arms, lots of power, explosiveness, great energy. He's going to pursue. He's a high motor guy. He wants to fight. He's great in the run defense, which you want at someone in this position for the Atlanta Falcons for their defense that they run, the 3-4. Well, the 3-4 with the outside linebacker, of course, coming down and rushing. His hand fighting, he has continuous hand fighting, so that's also good to see. Man, it's gonna be really great to see what this cat can do. But look, big defensive end, heavy defensive end, kind of a guy, kind of that 3-4 defensive end, typical 3-4 defensive end that you'd want. And then if I can want to work with me. There we go. Sorry, a little bit of technical difficulties. Tad bit of technical difficulties. After that, you have I drafted Junior Colson. It's not on here. Big impactful for Michigan at their linebacking core. I decided to put him in the interior linebacking spot for a position they had. 6'2", 228, a little bit of a light linebacker, but he can add weight. Look, this is a guy who's going to come in and who's going to be disciplined. He's going to be a disciplined linebacker. He's going to do what your typical inside linebacking job is, dropping back to the pass and then stuffing the run. That's what Junior Colson's going to do. He's great at it. Zion Tuafiti, I hope I'm saying that right. Fatui, I think, I'm not sure. 6'3", 258. He's going to be your typical outside linebacker. Not really consistent production, but I mean, look, there's a guy later in the draft. You need an outside linebacker. He's going to fill that position. He's going to fill that position of, hey, look, you can kind of work on this guy, but he has he's one of those guys where he has the talent. You just have to put it together. Really fast burst. He can rush off the edge really well. He's fast. He's quick. He's more of an athletic guy. Hand quickness isn't bad, Um, he at first he might be a rotational pass rusher, but he can really develop into something. It's kind of hard to go say, oh, boom, starter, instant replacement right now, especially in the offseason, just because it's so early. It's super like the season just officially for me ended a couple days ago. So it's hard to say, oh yeah, they're gonna do this, or they're gonna do that. And this is gonna be instant packed. It's hard to say. But no, shout to Zion. No, this is a guy who can. He's really good. The one thing I love about him is he's gonna get his hands up. His hands are active. If they're gonna get up and they're gonna try to swat that ball in the passing lanes, that is so impactful because that can lead to a tip drill or something else happening in the back end. So something he brings as well. Um, Next, I decided to help out again in that linebacking position with Curtis Jacobs out of Penn State. A little smaller, 6'1", 227, can also add a weight. But like Junior Colson, it's going to be a good depth piece, and he's going to be able to – he can be a little bit moldable. He can have a little bit of stiff hips sometimes, but, he's a disciplined guy. Something a little reliable. And then I decided to draft Jordan Winnington. I picked him just because, hey, get some added depth into that linebacking or into that receiving core that they still need. Things I weren't able to address is another receiver for depth at receiver, another tackle, and another center. But getting into some interesting things. After that's basically the draft. Some interesting things. A little bit of rumors are starting to spread. Of course, it's the NFL season. Stuff like that happens. Rumors are starting to spread. The Falcons, the Cowboys, and the Raiders are teams to watch if L'Jarius Sneed is unable to resign this offseason. Per Tony, not going to say the last name because I'm going to butcher it. Now, the Chiefs could tag him for $19 million. But, if preferably they'd probably like to resign him for a long-term deal. If they do tag him, it'll probably be for a little bit, then kind of extend him. I don't know if I'd see him play. I don't know if I'd see him kind of be able to play entire season. And tag. It's possible, but I don't know. The only thing I don't, not necessarily big on this is they do have corners. They do have corners who have been at that. They do have depth at that position. The only thing is the fact that hey, you're kind of dipping into position where you don't need right now. Maybe if you want to spend some cash and then hit the draft, but you have positions that you kind of need to fill right now. And then once you fill those positions, okay, now you're kind of chilling. Now you can really do some things. But I wouldn't be mad at it because it does upgrade at the cornerback position. Sneed was someone who was underrated. I know Chiefs' other corner got a Pro Bowl. All Pro or Pro Bowl, something like that. Don't quote me on it, but he did get one of them. L'Jarius Sneed was also really good for them, so keep that also in mind. He's been a great corner. He'd definitely help out the Falcons, but it's just like I said before, it's do you go for it because he helps out, or is it right decision now? Maybe it's something you do later. We'll see. And then last one, this one I think is a little more likely to happen. I'm not saying it will happen, it's more likely. Brandon Ayuk. He says he wants to remain with the 49ers if that's the right move. Basically meaning if money's right. In my personal opinion. That's how I interpret it. I could be wrong though. This I think is more likely with how many receivers they need going into this season that aren't practice squad, which they've signed. Every team signed their practice squad players to this year or even longer. But this is something that's kind of, hey, keep your eye on this because, this they need a lot of receivers. They need 4 receivers in total that they lost from last year to this year. So something to watch out for. So I could honestly see Brandon Ayuk coming for this, and that would kind of Brandon Ayuk, depending on how you see him, could either be that route runner, which he's not bad at, or the guy who takes out the top of the field. I'd probably bet they'd be more of that Malik Neighbors that take the top off the field type of receiver. So you probably wouldn't. Well, you could go Malik Neighbors depending on how the draft falls, but you might not as well. But don't get me wrong, Brandon Ayuk would be a great addition to this receiving core. The Falcons, normally I do have a last season to this season, but the Falcons changed their head coach. So, I mean, it's kind of like, do I really go out? Like, it's not fair for me to criticize that organization when they've already made that change. Look, the Falcons have won, 7 games? Multiple years in a row. They changed it. They got a new head coach. Look, they've done what I've been preaching. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And look, they had the same amount of wins consistently over and over and over and over again. And they just had enough, and they decided to move on from Arthur Smith. Look, I think Arthur Smith is a great coach. I don't think he utilized his weapons to the best of their ability. I also don't think he put the best weapons around Desmond Ridder. But at the same time, Desmond Ridder is what he is. Look, I think this is a team who, if they get better, look, I know we all say the NFC South is open, but it's getting tougher and tougher each year. Like this won't be like it was like how should I say this? The Bucks and the Saints got better. Like it didn't, not by much, but they still got better. So to say that that the NFC South is wide open, not necessarily, but it's getting more competitive. I will say that. And eventually I will touch on the Carolina Panthers as well. But thank you all for watching. Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all agree with my takes? Do y'all not agree with my takes? Other than that, I will talk to y'all later. See y'all.